All right, everybody, I'm get started. Let us turn down the music. Hope everyone's doing well out there. Today we are going to code, and I need to get this mic arm like super out of the way. It's super distracting. Cool. We're going to do a lot of different things. So today's kind of a chill day. So if people want to ask questions about software, coding, tech industry, that type of stuff. If you are actually realized I don't have any of my lights on. Let's change that. It's gonna kind of be bright for a little bit, but hope you all are doing well. I don't really have anything that I wanted to do specifically tonight. Just want to kind of chill and chat, and there's not much going on. We will be doing some coding, but that can come second. So if you are watching out there and you are interested in becoming a software engineer, maybe you like to just code on the side, maybe you like to tinker on projects on the weekends, I think you're in the right place. So what we'll kind of be talking about, at least what I like to talk about, is how you can teach yourself how to code. There's a lot of things that you can do out there. You can go to college, you can go to a boot camp, you can, pick up a book, right? And I think ultimately it doesn't really matter how you get started, right? I think the more important thing is that you do get started. So I'm here to help, and we have streams every single week. I haven't been posting as much TikTok content lately, but we're going to change that. So I'm going to start doing a lot more videos on kind of just in general how to stay motivated and continue throughout your self-taught journey. So if you are in a boot camp, great. If you are in college, great. If you are teaching yourself, also great, right? Everything is as your own, however you learn best. If you're a visual learner, if you're more of an audio type learner, or you like to watch YouTube tutorials, things like that. Or if you're more of like a kinesthetic type learner, where you really need to get your hands on to what you're working on so that you can really understand it. Doesn't really matter as long as you find what works best for you. So what we'll kind of be doing is an AMA. If you want to ask me anything, if you have any thoughts, any questions, any kind of scenarios that you might be in that you want some advice or anything like that, feel free. Otherwise, I'm just going to be coding, and I'll be checking chat here and there. So what I'm coding today is I'm working on a command line app that I've been building over the last few streams. And this app basically allows you to check a score of a package that you use in the .NET ecosystem. So if you're a C# developer, then you might use what's known as a NuGet package. And these are packages of code that you can just download from other authors and use that code within your projects. So if you need to create a way to accept payments, you might use a library like Stripe, and that's written by a different company and maintained by a different company, but all you do is include that into your project and you're off to the races. So what we're doing today is basically a way to validate those packages a bit better, so that you don't have to really worry that the package might be, say, bad quality, or it's not really maintained. So if you want to follow along at home, you can follow on TikTok, or feel free to join our Twitch stream. It's twitch.tv/JohnDouglasDev, and you'll be able to see the screen and kind of follow along as well. So where I kind of last left off was I created this API documentation scoring section, and it works, but I refactored it to the point where it's not how I want it to be. I actually overworked this, and so I kind of wanted to go back to where I was with it. So I actually might just like kind of reset it for tonight, because I started to iterate through like all the different frameworks and all the different errors that you can get within the framework list. But I realized that it wasn't that great of a way that I was doing it. So I wanted to find a way that I can, I don't know, make it a little bit easier to use. So today I'm going to refactor this, really just get rid of the code and kind of redo it, because it's just not great right now. So I'm actually just going to take one of my old score sections and kind of redo this whole thing. You know, if I were to redo this, I don't know. I just didn't think that, I don't know what I was thinking last night, but whatever it was, that was not it. So what I do need to do, however, is kind of switch a lot of these things up. Like I switched the validator as well, and I think it's the API documentation validator or something like that. You'll notice that this is going to fail, and that's probably because I changed the validator as well. I don't really know like why. I have to kind of remember what I was doing, but we're going to kind of go through it a little bit today. Okay, so the last thing was I have a validator I created, and I kind of switched this. So I want to switch this back to a package context, because I just want to make it pretty simple today. What am I working on? So I'm making like a command line interface for validating what's known as a NuGet package. So it's just a way that you can see if like a package is a high quality before you download it. So this tool basically goes through and investigates the whole contents of a NuGet package and will basically give you a score. So that's what I'm working on today. And so I need this to be, I also made this new object, which is a list of these NuGet framework documentations. I don't really like it. What determines a high quality package? So right now we're working on a lot of different rules. Some of the high level ones that we have right now are, we have a section, let's actually just go through our sections, it'd be easiest. So the first one's like making sure that you basically have all the metadata like provided up front. So you're not missing anything, and you have like tags, you have a description that, you know, is a certain amount of characters. You have like a README or release notes and all those different types of things. The next thing that we're doing is basically going through the assembly and looking for all the different public API members, and then checking if those public API members have comments. So if someone were to use your library, you would be able to have IntelliSense, or basically you can read documentation of what types and members that you're using. And then the other couple ones that we're working on too, actually I don't have it in here, but it is somewhere. I forget where it is. We want to also kind of encourage these libraries to support as many platforms as they can. So .NET is a pretty unique platform in that you can really run .NET everywhere nowadays. So you have like .NET Core, which allows you to run on Mac, Linux, Windows, Android, iOS, all those different platforms. But you have like a shared layer, which is a shared .NET library that you can basically use across all of them. So want to really promote that packages can support as many possible platforms as they can by just using some of the latest frameworks. And a couple of the last sections are basically just diving into what's known as static analysis, which is, hey, look at this package and look at some of the assemblies and kind of determine if there's some health and that type of stuff. And then last but not least, just like the biggest one I think is just making sure that things are up to date, right? So if you're creating a package, you want to know that all of your dependencies that you might take on are also to the latest version. And this is not just like packages or libraries, but it's also for like your .NET version and all the tooling that you're going to be using to build that as well. So kind of like just making sure you're using the latest stuff. Cool. So I need to figure out what I was doing with this percentage, because I made this new object and I don't really like it. This is the new object for people on Twitch. So what it is I just created this thing that basically takes in what's known as a NuGet framework. And this class is an interesting one because it has a lot in it. So you can like see that there's like an identifier, a version, all these monikers, hash codes. There's a lot of good information in here, but we don't necessarily need all that. Like what we do need is basically the short name. And I think there's actually even a short name method or something in this class, but we basically just need the short name of the framework. And then the other thing was that we wanted to just have a double of basically what is the public percentage that we calculated. So right now I don't like it as a list, but it is what it is. I think we can leave it as is. It's just hard to really validate this. So this validator basically wants to validate that specific property, but we're passing in a package context. So we either need to switch this back to the original object that we had, which is this NuGet framework documentation object that we created. And that works fine, but then we have to, in our score service, validate this, not with the context, but for each of the contexts framework documentation list. So I'm trying to think about that right now. Basically what we're doing is that, let me show you some of the code of how this is running, but we have this, I think it's a score service. And in this score service, you might notice that this is getting quite large, but we're basically saying for each of the target frameworks that are in this library, we want to look for a specific folder. And inside of each of those specific folders, we want to do this method against it. So what I'm trying to think is that we're trying to create basically a list of score sections here, right? Like this provides documentation should provide me 3 score sections of each different one, but really I'm trying to think about it. It's actually just 1 score section. These other ones, for example, like the follows conventions, provides documentation would contain 2 different score sections, which would be the example one and the public XML API. So I need to kind of refactor this one. I'm currently doing like a for each for all of it. And then I'm basically saying like, hey, go get this API documentation score section thing. So I need to figure out how I'm adding these, because right now I'm just adding them to the context. And I think what I need to do is I kind of need to iterate through them and validate them one by one. That's kind of what I'm thinking. So right now we create those objects. We create a new one for each one. And I'm sure we can actually simplify this a little bit more. And we put the percentage, we put the framework in, and then we add it to our list. So by the end of this all, if I actually were to debug this, right, we should have, I'm gonna say like 2 or 3. We actually have to switch this back, don't we? So let's switch back the validator. Oh wait, never mind. Yeah, we're gonna have to figure this out first, because this doesn't actually need to go through validation yet. Yeah, so we can just like return a new score section and make everything else invalid for now. And oh yeah, I mean, although this can't be hit, it's still going to hit the compiler. Hey Bob Ross, how's it going? Cool. So when we get to this point, we should see that our context has, let's see how many it has in here. So it has 3 of them. So this one has a net 5, and it has 120%, a net standard, and has about 123, and then another net standard, so a different version. Is that a different version? Yeah, so 2 different versions of net standard that this library is shipping. So they all are over 100%. Really, the goal is for it to be over 20%. This library is outstanding of what it is documenting. Let's see. The Shrek, I kind of just Shrek'd a 35-minute Tetris round. Oh, jeez. Well, I hope you recover, and I hope you can get back to your back to a good game or something. I haven't played too much Tetris for a while. I used to really love Tetris. Okay, so now that we know that we have 3, we're creating this new score section and we're passing in the context. The context now has these 3 items. So within this context, we can go back into here now. And this is where we need to refactor our code. And I did a really bad job last night of what I was doing in this. So let's try it again. So basically we have this API documentation validator, and this validator is currently taking in a NuGet framework documentation object. So what we need to do is we need to iterate. So I'm just going to start here and say for each var, we're going to say NuGet framework in context dot this list, right? So we're going to go through each one and we're going to validate them. So that's pretty much straightforward. I don't really know if we need a new validator for each individual. I think we do, because they're unique results. So I don't know exactly, but we're going to try it. So we create a new validator and we're going to get the results. The results will be if it's greater than 20%. And if it's not, we're going to basically override this property and basically say, hey, you have 10%, figure this out. What am I developing? So we're making basically a command line interface for checking if a package on NuGet is high quality or not. I know it's hard to explain exactly what that means, but follow along and it'll start to make sense. I'll show a couple examples when I get a little bit further. So basically, now that we're validating this thing, we definitely need the summaries, right? So the interesting thing is that what I think we need is we just need the list of summaries to be at the top level, right? Because we want to have we can have 3 summaries potentially here. So but what we need to do is say for each failure, we need to create a new summary. So that's absolutely true. And that's absolutely what we want to do. So I'm going to put this inside of this for each block. And then what I need to do here is kind of, go through this idea. Cause like right now the results are just validation results, right? So we need to probably create a list, and you'll probably see similar code right now, which is below. We'll say validation results is fine. but you'll see similar code down here, right? Which is, here's these validation results. And let's make sure that they are the right class, because validation result, I think, is it's a class that can be reused for like system component and stuff like that. So now that we have validation results, the question is like, if we validate something and then we have a failure in the errors, we're creating a summary regardless. So we don't necessarily need it. We would need to just kind of iterate through it afterwards. So the summaries is perfectly fine to iterate through, so I don't think we need this. So now we're going to create a new scoring section, and that's going to have all the summaries in it. So we basically just need to, we got to just kind of check and say like summaries dot, I guess summaries will, it's only issues and failures, right? So we're gonna have to kind of play around with this code. So I'm gonna just kind of override these things for now, and we'll come back to them. So let's kind of just like play around with what's going on. So this one had three. This one had three different items. So let's just kind of continue through and see where we get. So we went through all the validators. Summaries should be 0 because they all pass the validation. So therefore we want to say if summary, if the count of this list is 0, score is 10. Otherwise we'll subtract, I don't know. I think otherwise just 0. I think we really need to be, we'll just try it out. So what we'll do is for current score, we'll just kind of say, what was it? Summaries. So summaries dot count, and then we'd say greater than, greater than 0. And then if so, then we'd say 0, otherwise 10, right? So something like that. I think that's the right syntax, but let's try it again. I don't actually use that syntax too much. That's a quick way to do like an if statement, if people aren't familiar with it. So you're just basically saying, is this Boolean true or false? If so, your true condition, false. So summaries.count should be 0. So is it greater than 0? No. We'll have to double check for 0. We might have to do double greater than or equal to. So now if we look at our console, right, we don't get a summary here. Like it just provides documentation. So it's a 10 out of 10. The question is should we provide a summary regardless? I don't think so. I think as long as it meets the score, it should be okay. But this is the idea. So for people watching, what this really does is you put in a library name that you want, and it'll go through all the metadata and score it. And then it'll go through the documentation right now and also score that. So let's try this against a library that would fail, right? So does anyone have a library off the top of their head that they want to test out? So fair game is anything on nougat.org. So let's find something not too popular. We want something that isn't like, millions of downloads. We want something that's just like, might be popular, but also doesn't look maintained or high quality because like there's missing images or things like that. So I'm going to look for one. Here's one, list diff. Let's try this one. So what I do for my tool is I'll basically grab the name, and then I'll grab the version number, and then the tool will do everything else. So if we dump this one, we'll kind of go in through a debug now. Let's see what happens. So for this one seems like it is documented too. So let's double check. I want to see if there was any. So for this one, the documentation was 84%. So that one should be fine. So let's let's just do a double check. How we can do that is we can just download this package really quick, and we'll open it up and then just kind of get a look at it. So inside here, they have an XML file, so they probably did document it pretty well. I could, open this and view the content, but, just looking at this, it looks documented. So we don't have to do that too much. So let's find a library that isn't potentially. What about this one? So let's download it really quick just to kind of get an idea of what it looks like. See, this one has no documentation. So let's see if our tool utterly fails here, because I don't think I tested for every case, but we'll see what happens. So that's this. That's kind of interesting. I actually probably need to think about that one, because right now I don't know if we need the presence of an XML file or not, but we will see. We might have to refactor a little bit. Yeah. So what is it? Get stream of. So we're gonna need some null checks basically. What was it? Score service 74. So 74 is the XML. Yeah, so exactly what I mentioned. So basically we have the path, right? But if we got to do a null check here. So right here, we'd say if XML string path, and we'll say, I don't know, something like that. I mean, I thought there was there might be another way to do something quicker, but we're gonna have to kind of throw a lot of our code under the same umbrella. Okay, and then we're gonna need to do the same. The thing about it is we're gonna probably want to do the best practice same thing for the lib folders, but I guess that's true. We will need to do that. Okay. So I guess we'll just do it here. If the assembly path, and I mean, we can do this a lot better in, refactor it later, but it's not a huge deal. So let's see. I think we go down to 1, 2, 3. Yeah. Okay. And we'll call that good. So let's see if that fails. I think we should be okay though. I'm a senior program manager at Microsoft. What am I doing here? Just chilling, right? We do things on the weekends, right? Just hanging out. Okay, so this one went through. So there was a summary. So the summary, let's actually see what the summary is. So insufficient, that's exactly what we wanted. So that null check worked really well. You don't think about these things when you're going light speed, right? That's the importance of thinking of every edge case. All right, so if we spit out this, we should see that you failed, right? And they did fail, they don't have the file. So this one also fails on a lot of other things too. No release notes, no metadata elements, all that other type of stuff. So yeah, thanks for joining. Really appreciate Canadian Sean. Okay, so I'm gonna kind of put a check mark on this feature right now. It works for the most part, and that's all I want it to do right now. So we're gonna move on. We have a couple more sections. So you see we have about 3 more sections. We have supports multiple platforms. This one should be really easy to do. I don't really worry that this will be too difficult. I've actually done most of it, but it's a question of how I'm gonna be doing it. The static analysis one, this one's going to be a whole stream itself. There's a lot of things I want to add in here, but it's going to be a list of things. It's not going to be just like one thing. So that one will be a longer term thing. And there's a lot of other code that we can leverage from the open source ecosystem to help us with static analysis. And then the last one is supporting up-to-date dependencies. This one's I'm a little torn by. I know how to do it, but it can get really messy because what we're going to be doing is we're going to go through all the dependencies of the package and then checking if they need updates. So as you imagine, the longer that list can be, the longer the time that this tool could take because it has to go check for updates. This tool is really dumb, right? It's not like caching anything or anything like that. So I really hope that there's not too much like time complexity being added to the program because of it, but we'll see. I think like the average of dependencies per project, like in the .NET ecosystem, I won't say it's less than like 10. I'd say on average it's probably like closer to 4 or 5. I mean, we can look, right? Like this package has no dependencies. Let's go to the top level ones. We only care about top level dependencies, which are the ones that are listed here. So this one has about about 5 or 6, and that's for one specific framework, 4 for the other ones, and then the rest have none. So I'd say about 5, right? This one has a lot. So this one has about 6 on each one. So that's what I'm trying to say is like, as you can imagine, what we want to ensure is that if it says system.memory and then it says 4.5.4, if I click on system.memory and there's a later version than 4.5.4, then we want to make sure to let the author know you need to update. So let's find one that has that situation. So here, let's look at these dependencies. Nope, this one looks pretty standard, just .NET standard library. That's actually fairly old. I don't think that really needs to be there anymore, but they are targeting an old framework. Castle Core. Here's some. So let's try some of these system libraries. So maybe 4.3.0. Those all sound like they're latest. Yeah, because like these are old libraries too. What about mock? Let's look at this one. So this one takes Castle Core 4.4. And is Castle Core on 4.4? No, it's on 4.4.1. So this one would be a perfect opportunity, right? It was updated 4 days ago, right? But it still only requires a 4.4.0. And it kind of, some of the things are like, how like semantic versioning works is that if you're on the same patch version, it should be compatible. So we have to take those rules into account when we're checking for updates. But for the most part, we're gonna make this tool just kind of dumb initially, which is just check if there's an update first, right? That's where we're going to kind of start with, and then we're going to make it say, no, check for an update, but it has to be semantic version compatible. So that would be the patch version typically. So anything on the patch version. So 4.4.0, anything above that version should be more or less compatible. But it's hard because not everyone follows that rule, right? So like generally speaking, you can just say, go get the latest and it should work. So let's see. That's what separates me as a government programmer from Tesla engineers. They think deep about every edge case. Hey, I don't know. Like, I think people just, you know, everyone has their own different personalities. Like whether you're a Tesla engineer or whether you're a government employee, like, I mean, you have to think of like the constraints that you have and how, you know, how deep you can really go with them. I mean, I wouldn't say that either one is better, right, at doing it. I totally get it though. It's pretty funny. Okay, so let's go back. Let's go back to our score service, and we kind of wrapped up this thing. What do I need to indent this thing or what? What's it telling me to do? Okay. So we're gonna clean up code later, just run a tool or something. So supports multiple platforms async. This one is the one that I said is really easy. As you imagine, like we already kind of did this code. It's not perfect. It's not something that like I feel good with, but we did this on stream a couple of days, or I want to say like a week ago, maybe. I don't remember, but we basically we got to take what we're doing here, which is creating this like score section thing. So we're going to do that. And we're going to create a new method, and we're going to call it, say, I don't know, get multiple platforms, and we'll say score section async, right? So I'm going to copy that, and inside of our score section service, we now need to create a new method. So I'm just going to take one of these ones, which are, and because we did a decent implementation here, I'm just going to get rid of all this other crap I was doing. I don't know what I was thinking. Like, I don't know. So get multiple platforms score section async, right? And now we need, let's just, yeah, that should light up. So we need a validator. So let's create a new validator. So in our validators, I'm going to create a new directory here. And this one's going to be called supports multiple platforms for now. We can always refactor later. And then we'll call this one multiple platform validator, right? Or multiple platforms, yeah. So we're gonna copy a little bit of some stuff we've already done. So this one could probably take a context, so I'm gonna take an older one. Yeah. So say multiple platforms validator, and then do that, and then pull these all in. So let's see. Now we need to kind of think about what we're going to be doing with this. So inside of this thing, we basically need to say, how are we going to pass this information along to get validated? So what we're doing in our score service was go to the lib, go to the target, and get the short folders. So this one is an interesting one because I almost feel like we can get this information from the object that we were using here, NuGet framework documentation. We already have the information. We have it in a list. Do I want to call this object NuGet framework documentation? Should I just add to this and just call it like an all, I don't know. It doesn't really do much. It just has a NuGet framework in it. And that's what I need, is I need to grab this one. So ultimately we're going to pass in something. So I'm gonna have to think about it. We already have it. I don't really want to, like, the thing about the validators is, So let's say NuGet framework here. And we'll pull that in. And then we'll say x dot framework, right? That's a string already. And then we say not equal, right? And then inside here, we'll say Actually, we want to say equals. And then we'll say, we want to say net50. I think that's what we wanted. I don't think it's like dot equals. It's a different method for the validation. What is it? Not empty is one. Not equal. I think it's equal. Yeah. Okay. So, or there. That's better. Greater than or equal to. I think we need to do a second one. I don't know how to chain these things. Fluent validator docs. So we're gonna have to kind of look through what we have here. So I wanted to. It's not a when. Do I want a condition here? I don't think I want a condition, or do I? I think it is. Cascade mode. So can I just do 2 equals? I think I might be able to. Oh, stop on first failure. Okay, so I should be able to just chain them, is what it looks like, right? So equal, let me say net standard 2. I think that's right. We're gonna have to throw it through and see what happens. So the with name is going to say the message is going to say multi-target your library to support net50 and net standard 2.0, something like that for now. With name, I don't know, support more platforms. I think that's okay. Some more, support additional platforms, support more additional. And are we using periods? No, we're not. So we'll put these all things in resx files too, stuff like that. Coding, yeah. We're on twitch.tv/JohnDouglasDev if you want to come check out. All right. So basically we're going through this, and the interesting thing is that I don't even think we have to, let's see. We honestly don't have to do anything special here, right? Like our validator does all that work for us because we already have the stuff in it. So what we need to do is inside of this, in this method, this is where we need to do a for each loop somewhere. So basically we have to switch the validator. So multiple platforms validator, right? We're going to be doing a for each here. And we'll say var, and we'll say platform in context dot this list thingy. Still, I want to switch that name. I don't like it, but it is what it is. We'll just continue on. So the list of summaries is another thing. Like we should lift this to the top like we did with the previous one. And then we'll leave all that is. So all this stuff will go into the loop, right? And then instead of context, we're gonna say platform. And then we're gonna say platform dot and then pass in the framework. So we have that stuff. Still don't like the names, but that's okay. So the score section, very similar to the previous one above it. Actually, was it that one? Yeah. We'll just do account basically, and if they support it, they support it. But let's see, something like this, and then status for the most part. I just think we say true. We'll fix that later. So the other thing too is this title was what is it? Support, or actually, let's see. Target the most compatible and most functional frameworks. I don't know, we'll start with it. So let's build, what is it in Writer? Control Shift B. I don't really use Writer too much, so hotkeys and stuff are just way different. Why do I play League of Legends ranked? That same is too stressful. Hey, you know, you gotta get that rank, right? So where did these breakpoints come from? I don't think I added these anytime recently. Okay, so we gotta add some breakpoints, but actually let's just look at what happened. So, that makes sense. Okay, so we actually haven't even created this section yet, but we gotta figure this out a little bit more. So this one's throwing out framework. So this one is a unique one because now we have to fix the validator. The validator, if you know, it sees like override property name. So we got to use that instead, and instead of with name, right? So that, because otherwise we get just the object that comes into it. So we'll say support additional platforms, and then with the message, we're going to do a unique message here, and we're going to say whatever is yelling at it, right? So multi-target your library to support, and then we're gonna say, oh, I guess I can't do that, can I? I guess I still have to hard code it. We'll leave it as is for now. Okay, so now let's go back into our score dumper. Yeah, so inside here, we basically need to get rid of this whole table and copy and paste a different one. So we're gonna do this one because like we fixed a lot of the things in the above ones. And what we'll do is just kind of reuse that instead. So that's going to be for every single one of them. It's just we've been doing it as we get to them. So the hard part about these is that supports multiple, what did we call it? Multiple platforms. You can't really refactor in these because like, if I do it here, it's going to hit everything up here. So I just have to kind of go through everything. So this one's going to be support multiple platforms, supports multiple platforms, and we'll say supports multiple platforms. I hope I didn't put that already in the score section. Did I? Target the most, support additional platforms. That should be okay. Let's see. Not supporting enough platforms. Let's start with that. Okay, so back into here, we'll go through it. People throw and don't want to win. You know, I haven't really played enough like League for a while, but like I feel like that happens in every game. Just people, I don't know what like makes people do it. I feel like I've maybe done it a couple times, but it was like I left the game. I didn't like actually intentionally like throw, you know. But I mean, I can understand people, right? Okay, so this should be the last piece. No, there's 2 pieces left. So this one and this one. And we do need to refactor all of this. We really do, to this thing. Or sorry, where is it? Oh, I forget. But we need to basically create a method for all this stuff. It's just, there's a little bit of hard-codedness, and that's okay. Not everything has to be perfect. All right, so let's run through it and see what happens. So why does it do this? Multi-target. I mean, not support enough platforms must be equal to 5.0. Not support enough platforms, multi-target your library to support net that and that. Is it because of the double equals? So we're gonna have to figure that out. How do I just do like an OR? Like, I don't want to chain it, I just want to OR. So maybe I'll just do a when instead of an equal. I think that might be better. So dot when. Oh, does that not work? Rule for this when? No. When does that work? Rule for that not null when. So if I say not null, not empty, dot when, okay, when this dot framework does not equal net 5.0 or x dot framework does not equal standard 2.0, right? Then I want to say that. Okay, so let's try it again. Maybe that throws only 1 this time. Not yet. Not empty, so it's going to still pass if it's not empty. Can I just say when? Like, I don't understand. Must? What does that do? So maybe must might be a good one. Can I just, let's see if I can just do equal with the single and throw a lambda in it. Will that work? I don't think so. How about must? No. Well, I can't resolve it. We're gonna have to figure out what, because not empty will work. Let's see, rule 4. Because we're kind of doing a rule set. Must be over 18. Maybe we do something like that. Let's try it. Must and then that. So we'll say, what are we passing in here? I don't remember. We're just gonna pass in a string or something. Must is it just a string? Date of birth. That's a date time, so we'd be passing in a framework, which is a NVIDIA framework, right? And basically we would say if framework dot, actually if we just say framework dot framework, I guess, does not equal net 5.0 or framework dot framework is not equal net standard 2.0, right? Then we'll say return. If it doesn't equal it, false, right? And then we'll call this one must be compatible. We'll start with that. And then we'll say dot must. I'll just call it be compatible, just so it sounds cool. And then we'll pass in X. Is that right? Or how do they do that? Must be over that. So I don't pass in anything. How's that work? Protected. Rule for X dot X the birth. So this is for the person. This is for the framework. So that code doesn't work how I want it to. So we say it must be compatible. What would I pass in here? I don't think I pass in anything, right? We might have to see what that looks like. Okay, let's look at, I was gonna look at a custom validator. Cause like some of these are like must. I thought that would have worked, but I guess, can I do that? I hope I'm just not like super overcomplicating it. Like, let's try this. Must, I'll say f dot. See, that doesn't work either. It's like we're not talking about like, I guess we could say like f is the string, right? F dot and then, but I don't know. Cause like this is all just like the string stuff, I think. Must, and then we'll just I don't know. I mean, it just kind of keeps going down, right? So the rule is for framework, right? X dot framework, and framework is a string. The string, is there like a match? Oh. Okay. Matches is cool. How do I use that? Built-in validator. Is there a matches one? I guess I don't really want like a regular expression. I wasn't really hoping to do like a regular expression. I thought equal would work. Equal, and then can I do this? Net 5.0 or I don't think I can do that, right? I really doubt it. So this would be an expression of just saying like s dot framework equals yeah, I don't know. I gotta figure this one out. I am not thinking about it in the right way. Basically, I want to either chain validations, but when I chain them, it doesn't work the way I want it to. Otherwise, I want it to go through my own, which is a must, but we learned that like must doesn't really, like there's conditions, right? Greater than, equal to, all that type of stuff. But the cascade mode is the thing that's throwing us off. So as soon as something does, so maybe we need to say instead of continuing, it just stops. So how do I do that? This thing? Let's try it. Let's try something like that. And then we'll say, well, the hard part is I don't want it to stop because it can't equal both. It's one or the other. Can we do a contains or something? I don't think so. So maybe custom, I guess. And then let's create a custom validator somehow. Let's try this. Must, and then we'll do a contains or something. Must, say f dot contains net 5.0. I don't think I can do that, can I? What is the link query of like link contains 2 strings, something like that. I forget how to do that. Oh, any. So any or. So name or. So contain should still work, right? So when it contains that, or where's this M thing coming from? Or, yeah, I thought I could do it like that. Okay. That would be or f dot contains net standard 2.0. Okay, that works. So maybe we can get rid of this. And that should be okay. And then we'll build and let's see what happens. That looks a lot better. Cool. Okay, so what library did we do this on again? Just double check. Active list extensions. Do I have that right now? Let's do it on something that will work. 4.4.1. So this one needs to support both net standard 2.0 and net 5, and this doesn't support either of them. What about mock? Does mock support at least 2.0? So it does. So try this one. This one will probably fail in the same way, so it's going to get 0 points. So I need to split that up if it matches at least 1 somehow. So mock is what, 4.16 4.16.1. So this one should be a 0 still. So let's work on that code. Oh wait, this thing went through it 3 times. We got to figure out why it did that. Okay, so it went through it 3 times. Something in here is wrong, which means that summaries is going to be wrong. So let's check it out, see what's going on. So it goes through each for each. I mean, I could debug it or jump through it, but let's see what happens. So it goes through that in results. So the NuGet framework here is 4.5. The results would be, I see what's going on. Basically we are, oh wait, I don't want these things flagged. Basically we're erroring regardless, right? So the more that you do target, so we need an if statement before we validate these. But I guess the other question would be, we might want a reverse validator instead, right? Where it's not a must, like if it contains these two, that would give you the points, is what I'm saying. But what we could do too is the validator, we can just, I don't know. I mean, we're kind of just doubling up the validation if we do it this way. I don't really mind it, but it's not like great. Yeah, I gotta figure out something better. Because if we look at the summaries, we're going to see 3, right? And they're all going to be the same. This one, for example, would be 4.5, 2.0, and 2.1. I don't know why it'd be throwing for 2.0. Let's redebug it and see why. So if we jump through this, I'm just gonna run through it once. Okay, I didn't want that. Wait, is that because? No, I see. That's because this code needs to be down, something needs to be down here. So if I jumped in this, the platform here is 4.5, right? That has documentation, great. The validator goes through and it'll basically say like, hey, like you need a multi-target, right? So what we might want to say here, So if we did that, that's fine, right? The next one is the one that we care about, net standard 2.0. So when this gets through, this gets passed in, the framework is just called net standard. That's why it's failing. So we need the short name. That's what's going on. So is there a way to get that? I don't want to get the whole version name. There's like static members here. Let's look at what we have. So in here we'd say framework dot. So maybe not even framework, right? X dot get short folder name. That's what we want. So now let's try that again, see if that helps us out a bit. So we'll run through this once, and now that we go through this, that one shouldn't fail, right? So it worked. Okay. So we'll still get 2 errors. But the question is should it be going through every single one, or should it only be going through the ones we care about? What I'm kind of thinking is that we go through this, we should say that if platform dot nougat whatever dot short folder name, and we'll say if that doesn't or if that does equal net 5.0 or net standard 2.0, right? Or what's it, platform dot nougat dot get shoulder, yeah, something like that. And then in here we're gonna throw that in for the validators, because we only care about validating the if it is there. If it's not, we don't care. So that's why I'm trying to do that there. So now the max score for this one, I want to say, I have a notebook here. Let's see what score I put it as. I forget. 20. So this one's gonna be out of 20. And then basically if the count is greater than 0, it's going to be equal to 0. So if there's any failures on these, no, what we want is in this one, we're going to want, instead of summaries, let's see. Because if they validate, it's going to be fine, right? So we actually might want a list of the validators. Yeah. So a list of validation result, right? I'll say validation results. And then in here, we're going to say that's fine. We'll just kind of like take it over or something. And then we'll just say like results, right? Cannot convert that. Oh, so we'll add it. So we'll just add it at the end here. So we'll say validation results dot add, and we'll say results, something like that, right? So now we'll say validation results, and then if it is, if the count is greater than 0, yeah, we're gonna have to, I don't know. I mean, we could do a little bit of logic here that says like, if validation results is, I mean, we can just do it as the count. So that if the count times 10, right? So if it's greater than 0, it's going to be the count times 10, right? Otherwise, 0. Otherwise, if it's 0, 0. I'm going to try that. We're going to go for it. I'm investing early. So this one failed. So I must have done something really wrong. So I'm going to guess here, if it equals that or that, we're going to go through the validation. So let's see, I think I might need to put an extra property in the validation result. So we'll go through. All right, so this platform is 4 or 5. It's gonna definitely not go through, right? Okay. So next one should go through. Okay. The results of this one are, we get a validation result. Is valid is true. So I need to probably put a dot where it's true, because this is why it's going through all the failures, and since there's no failures, it's not adding them to the list. So we put this line of code on 1 too high. Now let's try it. And okay, so it only supports 1. So we need this to still throw if it's not supporting the other one though. We'll figure it out later. We have a good start to it though. I want to somehow put that, if it's possible, to say that one of them is supported, then I can put that in the validation, I think. So the question would be, if it goes through this validation, right? Yeah. The hard part is that we're saying that if it contains this or it contains that. So I might need to have a separate validator. I might have to have one for .NET 5 and one for .NET Standard 2. And then I just need to check those 2 validations and then throw them all through is what I think I need to do. That way I can override the property and say, yeah, you're not, yeah. I think I got an idea of how to do it. I mean, we could do that. We're getting pretty far. I'm just wondering. Because like I should be able to say like, you know, you're not, this is basically saying like, this matches, right? I don't know. I'm gonna need to think about it. It's working for what I want it to do, but I need to think about it more. And right now my brain is getting fried. So target the most compatible and functional frameworks. So I'm gonna put this one and say target both .NET Standard 2.0 and .NET to share. Target the most compatible. Okay, let's try that again. .NET Standard 2.0 and .NET 5.0. Let's do that. Okay, so the hard part is like this one needs a summary, but it needs it in the opposite way, because it's not failing. I guess the other thing too is that I can flip the logic. Maybe that's what I'm not thinking about. It must, if it must contain this, can I say like does not contain, or what was it? I thought it'd be something like that. So if it does not contain that, I don't think that works though. That's gonna throw it up even more. Because it's not gonna, we'll have to debug this a little bit more. So it's gonna go through this. Okay. Goes through it. This one should work. The results for this one, which is 2.0, should say that it is valid. And that's not what I wanted. I wanted it to fail. Okay. We're gonna have to come back to this one. I think we have a lot of it done. I wanted to do other things that I just can't think of it right now. What I'm hoping for this one to do is basically say, when we're here, I want to throw the net standard or net 5 validator through. I want it to validate, and I want it to technically throw a failure. But I don't really want to. I just want it to have a summary. It doesn't have to be an error though. The problem though is I don't really want it to throw it if it already supports it. So for this one, because it doesn't support net 5.0, I do want it to error out though. The problem though is that I need at least 2. So I need a count or something. But I don't know. Basically, I want this to say like, okay, you went through all the validation, and if there's only 1, or really if there's 0, spit out this thing. If there's 1, tell which one is not there. If both are there, don't say anything. So I think I need a summary here, but it doesn't have to be on the failures. So really, I'm thinking of this validator wrong, I think. But I don't know how else I'd do it. I still need to create a summary, but maybe I don't need a validator here. So let's try this another way. Maybe I say, okay, if you have either of these, right? For each failure, I don't care. I do care that you do have a summary though. And I might say, the issue is going to be, I don't know. because I need both of them. So maybe I need a list to capture them both. So if I get net standard 2.0, add it to the list. If I have net standard 5.0, add it to the list. Something. I think we're going to have to sleep on it. I really don't know how further to go. Cause like, yeah, I don't think we need the validator. I think we can make the validator work, but it's not a huge deal. We definitely want a summary only in the case that it doesn't get satisfied. So we would need a list somewhere, make sure we have 2 items in there or however many. And then if that list isn't big enough, create a new summary, something like that. Okay. All right, well, we've been coding for the last hour and a half or so. Didn't want to do too long of a stream, but I just want to say thank you for everyone who joined today. We're going to call it quits for now, but we'll be back hopefully tomorrow or Monday. So